Hello, I made these videos looking at the best games each quarter last year, and I will do the same this year. Each quarter I will look back at the past 3 months and the best indie games released. I will only include fully released games, no early access games here. The games in the list are in no particular order, and it's based on games I have played. Let's get started. First up we have Ender Magnolia Bloom in the Mist. This is probably one of the better Metroidvanias I have ever played. This is not my preferred genre, so I'm very selective what I play, and I didn't play the first one either, Ender Lilies, but Ender Magnolia, holy shit, this is amazing. In this one you play as a girl named Lilac, who has lost her memories, all but one, and you set out to find the woman in the memory and to regain your memories overall. Lilac herself can't really do much in the game, whether it's combat or traversal. You instead rely on your allies. These you will get throughout the game, and you'll use them in combat and traversal. These allies are well-realized characters, with their own personality, and will talk to you from time to time, outside of you just using them for their abilities. Overall, this is a very dark game, the story, the setting, but man, the game is beautiful and brimming with details. It's a stunning game. Same with the music, it fits perfectly into the experience. The gameplay is excellent, fast, responsive and smooth, and the allies you gain basically becomes your attacks. They can be upgraded, you gain new attacks, you can mix and match quite a lot which ones you want to use in combat. And on top of that you also have equipment, relics and items. It isn't the hardest game, but you can tweak the difficulty quite a lot, which is nice to see. And I really like the different environments in this game. The Metroidvania aspect of the game is also really good, and it has a map system that is easy to see where you have been, where you haven't been, and where you lack the equipment to go. Then we have Heroes of Hammerwatch II, a really fun roguelite RPG with a ton of content in it, and also a city to rebuild. I've done a review on the game, I have a link for that one below the like button, but Heroes of Hammerwatch II really brings together a lot of elements that I like. You have the roguelite element of the game, which adds variety and replayability. The action RPG side of the game, which adds a decent combat, tons of skills, levels, classes. It's a ton of fun to mess around with. The hub in the game is a destroyed town, which you rebuild with resources you find, giving you access to new shops, upgrading systems, and a ton more. The different classes in the game are very diverse, with several skills, and you also get a specialty to choose. And as it is a roguelite, you head out on runs, and if you die you go back to the hub. But during a run you also find the relics, and you'll get a ton of them as you play, but you lose them all of course when you die. But they also come in sets. They can really make you quite powerful throughout the run. I think the bosses are very creative as well in the game. I just wish there were more of them and a bit of variety which boss could show up. But overall, it's easily 50 hours into this game if you want to max out everything, and it's a very pleasant experience. Next up is Keep Driving. Kind of an RPG management roguelike. The premise of the game is simple. You are doing a road trip over a few days and will have to manage and adapt to everything that is happening. This was much more of a unique experience than I would ever have thought, and I'm kind of in awe of the level of details in this game. How you solve situations, have to manage the car's gas, durability, your character's energy, and what to spend your money on, your inventory. It's a lot, but it's nicely balanced and fun to engage with. And the game is constantly throwing challenges at you and choices you have to make. The game also has a turn-based combat system for encounters, and these can vary from bad road, traffic, a slow tractor, a road blockage, and tons more. And these encounters will attack or drain one or more of your resources, and you'll have to use your skill cards to battle this. And it's kind of a matching system to match what you're faced with. It's more strategic than it might sound, and it is quite fun. Here's also where the hitchhikers come in, as they can help out in battles with their own skill cards, so picking them up is a good option. All I have described is just scratching the surface of how many systems, interesting events, how sleep and dirt affect you, traits, and so much more can impact your run. And then the vibe of the game is amazing, the music fits perfectly. I love the aesthetics of this one. It's a really cool game. Next we have Rogue Genesia. more of a traditional roguelite survivor. You have a pretty standard map with encounters, events, shops, and a boss at the end. The game is split into different tiers. You'll start at F, and as you complete tiers and climb the ranks, more worlds will be stacked on, making a run longer. Each encounter during a run usually have an easy objective you need to complete in order to move on, but each encounter also have a ton of enemies. You have a few classes in the game, you have passive upgrades, like a ton of these passive upgrades, then you have relics on top of that, kind of, but as I mentioned, as you play, you'll level up a ton during a run. And one of the most interesting aspects of the game are the weapons. There are a ton of them, and they can be upgraded, and your character can usually have 8 equipped at a time. And then you'll have even more passive upgrades for your characters that you can choose from when leveling up. Per standard, you choose between 3 upgrades when leveling up, and each upgrade also have multiple levels, so everything just stacks upon each other, making your stats go crazy after a while. It's kind of nuts. To me, it's definitely one of the better, more traditional roguelites out there. Next up is Cataclismo, a survival RTS, kind of a tower defense style to it as well, with building defenses being the priority in the game. The game has a fully fledged campaign that will teach you the basics and then start you off on a journey. The story is interesting and sets up some good scenarios for you to tackle, all while ramping up the scale, the blocks to build with, item troops, and enemies you will encounter. Gameplay is what shines here, and especially the building aspect. You being able to build your defenses brick by brick is very fun and satisfying. The freedom you get to build whatever you want basically is amazing. You'll of course have to manage resources in order to build. You also have to produce troops and place them on your defenses, as there will be tons of enemies attacking your structures. You'll also find a survival mode in the game. You can play skirmishes. You can also build your own maps, which is nice to see. It is unfortunately only a single player game, but it still feels like kind of the complete package for an RTS survival fan. Next up is The Last Flame. I've talked about this game a few times now and followed it from early access to full release. And I really like this game. It's a roguelike auto-battler, much like TFT or Auto Chess, but in single-player formula. You start off by choosing 2 characters and then you're thrown into the first battle. The game is using a traditional roguelike map with multiple routes, encounters, shops, events, and a boss at the end. There is a lot to pay attention to in the game. All heroes have multiple traits, synergies, equipment slots, and skills to gain. There is also relics, recipes, and something called origins. Leveling up your heroes works a bit like in TFT as well, where the hero gains points towards the next level by just winning fights, but you yourself also gain points to give it to the heroes you want to level up or boost up a hero that is new. I think it's a well-crafted experience with a ton of options for builds, and you have several game modes in this one as well. Then we have Spilled, the latest game to be released on this list, and differs quite a lot from the other games on this list, but I do like a chill game from time to time. Spilled is a cute little game about cleaning up the ocean. It's a very simple game. You steer your boat into oil and trash and return with it to a recycling center to gain cash for upgrades. The game also introduces new mechanics as you progress, with water cannon to clean walls, a crane for barrels at the bottom of the ocean. There are also animals to save, and the game doesn't really have any requirements outside of cleaning most of everything in an area in order to be able to move on to the next one. The vibe of this game is definitely a chill one, the music is great, and for some reason seeing things getting clean is always very satisfying. Next up is Age of Darkness Final Stand. This one entered early access back in 2021 and finally released into 1.0 this January. At its core, Final Stand is an RTS survival type game set in a dark fantasy world, a bit like Cataclismo, but with less focus on the building and more on the RTS side. The game features a full campaign and a survival mode that can be played in co-op. The campaign was much better than I expected, quite long as well, with multiple factions and characters you get to play as. As it is an RTS, you have the base building aspect to the game, with a focus on defending your base from overwhelming amounts of enemies. The campaign does a good job of mixing up the experience while telling a story, while the survival mode is much more straightforward, where you need to be fast and efficient in order to survive. But you do get to plan, build and explore during the day. At night, you have to defend, but it's really just the death night that is dangerous. The first one happens on the 3rd night, and then I think it's pushed one night, so the 8th night, and so on if I remember correctly, but you will have more and more time between each wave because they will be drastically bigger. But overall, a ton of fun and a ton of content. Then we have Dawnfolk, a minimalistic survival city builder. To me, this is also more of a chill game. The game progresses in real time, but you can pause it at any time, and the mechanics in the game are very easy to understand. The world is split into squares. The illuminated squares you can build on, the dark has to be illuminated in order for you to build on, and if you do this close to the edge where the map is just black, you will reveal more of the map. The gameplay revolves around the 4 resources types: light, population, wood and tools. Light is mainly what you are after, because it's used to defend against the darkness that will attack from time to time. But to get light, you'll need tools and people, and to have people, you need food. So in the end, you need all of them and manage them correctly. There is more depth to this, and they are interwoven more than I explain, but that's basically the gist of it. And then it's all about building out your town, your city, and when you build, chop down wood, mine, you play these small little mini games, which is quite nice to see and splits up the gameplay a bit. I really enjoyed this one. It's definitely hiding a bit more complexity than at a first glance, but once you get into it, it's a very chill and relaxing game. These are the games I think were the best released in Q1 2025. In a few months, I'll take a look back at Q2 for another one of these videos. But for now, thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!